Hi guys, and welcome to Rufus and Doofus. Chico here today, and I'm with Pepper, and the job today is to put the towing base plate on the Jeep. Yep. And I had this started a while ago, and I videotaped, but guess what? For some reason, I didn't get any video. I think maybe I pushed the button twice and ended up with nothing more than a photograph. So let me just tell you what I've done so far on this install. Okay. Now, first off, I had to order a brand new tow plate because the just couldn't find a used base plate anywhere, and I wanted to go with the Blue Ox that's meant for the Blue Ox tow bar that I have. So let me show you what I've got here so far. The first order of business was to get the bumper off of the Jeep, and I got to tell you that was not easy to do. On my Jeep, I had what looked to be like a skid plate mounted right here, and it made it very inaccessible to the bolts that were up here that held on the bumper. And I didn't know for sure if this needed to come off or not. Turns out that by the end of the day, I had to get that out of there. So I struggled unnecessarily trying to get to the bolts on the bumper. Now, the reason that base plate had to come off is because it interferes with the tow bar, or with the base plate here. Okay, so that's where I'm at. I've got the thing mounted on here pretty securely at the moment. I've got one bolt on this side, one bolt on the other. This one on this side is already tight. The one over here has not been tightened yet. So I'll show you how I do that. And we'll move on from there. So kind of sorry I lost that other video of removing the bumper, because it's kind of important, but hey, something is better than nothing. So let's move forward. Alright, what's pretty neat is we have a nut here which has been welded onto a piece of wire so that we can get in behind the frame and not have to stretch our fingers, or actually you wouldn't even be able to get in there with your fingers. So this is pretty handy the way they did this, and they do come like this right in the box. So I'm going to pull this bolt out that's over on this side. It'll stay right up here now. This part will stay up because it fits very tightly. Alright, so here we go. We're going to put a little bend in this so that we'll be able to sneak it under here and meet the bolt. Alright, so set that aside. And here's the bolt. Alright, pretty heavy duty bolt there. I can't remember exactly what size it is, and I have the instructions over on the table. And guess what? When you order this, you will know exactly what's in the package because there's a list that tells you. Also, one thing I forgot to tell you is on this bar here, this bar on my Jeep actually extended beyond the end of the frame. Alright, so it's stuck out. Here's the frame coming forward, and this piece here stuck out to about this distance below, and I had to cut that off with a Sawzall, just so you know. Okay, you don't have to do that on all models, but on this one I did. Alright, so let's put some Loctite red on this big old bolt here. We don't want this stuff to come apart on us. Alright, so we've got our Loctite on there. And now we're going to put this bolt in from the other side. And that goes on an existing hole in the frame and on the base plate that you get when you order it. And then we're going to fish this nut in here and try and line the two up. Not too hard. That wire welded on there really makes it easy. So I'm just tightening that up by hand right now. And then we're going to put the wrench on it, and we're going to torque it to 110 pounds. I'm going to just do the ratchet right now, and then I'll use the torque wrench later when I come back to it. Alright, so that's on there. All we need now is a wrench, and we'll tighten it right up. Okay, so that's tightened right up. As I say, we'll come back to that later with the torque wrench. Now, the other thing that's important on here is you want to make sure that you get this level. And right here is where it needs to be level. Okay? So we need to make sure that's correct. And then we're going to use these holes here to drill another hole for the other 2 bolts. Okay, so now that we've got the base plate mounted with the 2 large bolts that went in the existing holes in the frame, now we have to drill 4 holes, 2 on each side, for the additional bolts that will go into the frame member. So let me show you where that's going to go. I've drilled one here, and it goes, this hole in the plate was already there. I used it for the template and drilled it right through into the frame member. Now I've got to do the same thing over here. And then there's a metal plate spacer that goes in between here, and the bolt will go right through. So let's get that done. As you can see, that wasn't too difficult, especially when you have a power tool. I love power tools. Alright, so now we've got to take and put our 2 bolts through there with our spacer and our nuts on the other side, and let's not forget to put Loctite on them. Okay? Okay, for the next step, we have to put this spacer bar between the base plate mount and the frame. So these 2 bolts right here are going to go through that, and then they're going to go onto one of these nuts on the back side with Loctite. So we're going to insert that through here and then up onto the bolt with Loctite. And that should make that a very secure connection. So let me do that. Okay, don't go away. Let me show you how we're going to do it again. We're going to insert this up into the frame, hold it against the bolt, and then tighten that on with Loctite. Let me get to work. Alright guys, we got all the bolts in. I'll just go over that again. Rufus is anxious, he wants to come out, but he likes to take tools and go run with them, so we can't have him out here when I'm working on the Jeep and doing stuff. But let me show you. We got our 2 nuts and bolts in here, alright, and they're bolted right to the frame. Got this big old one that was in an existing hole, so we didn't have to drill that, but we had to drill these 2, and we got the identical setup on the other side. And here's the bar, nice, solid, very solid. Again, here's the part that I had it cut that extended out here, and you can see that it wouldn't have fit if I didn't cut it. And I also have a bonus in my Jeep that's causing me a headache, and that is that there's a big thick steel skid plate. Let me show it to you. Alright, here's that big thick steel skid plate, and this right here is going to be a problem. I'm going to have to cut that somehow, probably bring it someplace to have it cut. This mounts right underneath, and I have to cut both sides, so I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that yet. I'm going to dry fit it and see exactly where it needs to be cut. I might be able to notch it with a grinder, which would save me a lot of trouble. So we'll try that a little later. In the meantime, don't go away. We're almost done here. We just have to put the bumper back on after we cut this piece here. I don't want to put the bumper in and then find out I got to take it down again. So bear with me. We'll see you in a little bit. Well guys, here I am again. We're going to attempt to put on the skid plate that was mounted on the front of Pepper. Okay, I'm not really sure if this is on all the Jeeps, but it's on mine, so I'm going to have to deal with it. And what I'm going to do is kind of mount it with 1 or 2 bolts right now so that it swings down, so that I can see if I really need to cut a big part of it, or if I can just notch it to make it work for my situation here. So let me get everything lined up, and then I'll show you what I'm up to, okay? Don't go away. Make some sparks. Perfect. Okay, we've ground out a little notch there so it can slide up and go over the base plate, and you can see it pulls it right up. So we're good to go there now. Excellent. Okay guys, we're all done except for a few little items. All right, as you can see behind me, the bumper is back on Pepper. Let me show you a close-up. The bumper is installed. Okay, very nice install, very clean. Can hardly tell the tow bar is there. And one of the only things left to do is to put this on. All right. Okay, and this is a permanent cable that has to go around the base plate and the frame of the vehicle. So you can route this just about any place you want. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm not going to go under there and photograph how I'm doing it because it's, you know, it's all going to depend on your setup. But that's one of the only things I have left. And there's a link, let me show you that we use to put that on there. And that's it right there. Okay, so we're gonna loop it around the flame, we're gonna loop it around the base plate, and that'll be it for that part of the install. It'll be all complete. Now, one other thing that I've got to do is I have to put the plug onto the base plate. All right, now there is a mount that's specifically made for one particular type of plug, but I don't have that, and I am going to fabricate my own mount here. So let me show you. This is where they want the plug to go. Okay, so what I've got is a piece of angled aluminum that I'm going to cut to size, and I'm going to mount it on there. And then I'm going to mount this on there so that it's going to look something like that with the aluminum part underneath it. All right, and then we'll paint it all up, and it should be really nice and look like a finished, like it was meant to be there. So let me get that done, and that'll be it, and I'll show it to you when it's all done. Well guys, the job is 100% complete now, but I gotta tell you, it was difficult. And I'll tell you another thing, I got a few bumps, I got a few cuts, and I got one big scrape up there that hurts. See what I mean? All right, let me show you the finished project here, okay? All right, the bumper has been put back on, the tow bar is here, and here is the piece that I just fabricated to hold the plug. So it's nice and firm, solid as a rock there. Just gonna wire tie those wires up, and we're all set. But you can see that it hardly changes the profile of the front of the Jeep at all. Looks really good, I might add. And then here is where the parts go in that actually connect to the Blue Ox tow bar, and they slip right in here. Let me show you those because they're kind of important. Okay, there's the part that slips in there, and the tow bar actually connects to this. Very simple to put in. You just push in and turn, and it locks into position. That cannot be removed unless you pull this pin. And what's nice about it is when you pull these out, you'd never know that that tow plate was there. So I really like that. Very, very clean installation, very strong, and basically foolproof from what I can tell. So I'm happy with it. So that's it, folks. 3 days. I didn't work 24 hours a day on it, but I did put 5 or 6 hours a day on it, working at my pace, and it came out really well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Things are happening. Yes, indeed. Bye-bye.